Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 34 of Egginburgh, or Cities 2 build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Our last episode with the establishment of the town frame. Today I'd like to turn my attention toward the coastline and the little cove over this part of the map to formulate a little industrial port marina. Turns out very nicely. Please enjoy the time lapse as we work with the land to create the keys, and then we'll get started. So with the shape of the piers making up a big part of the build here, I'd like to have a look at them next. So last episode during our road network frame prep, we brought down this national road, which will now be our primary entrance into the port. And then let's go with a big fancy new roundabout. And then we'll just use a regular 2-lane road to establish the baseline of what will be the start of the piers, essentially. And because I would like to maintain the initial shape of the shoreline, this is just so we can draw out what we need here. So these are going to come straight out 180 degrees either side of the roundabout. And then we will start shaping the piers using the alleyway roads. So let's, for example, work with our first one. This one's going to come all the way up to the top. And we'll do 448 meters, quite a big one. And then let's just do 104 for right now. So I do know I want some service assets integrated into this little local container. Well, not, well, I guess it's a container port. Local industrial port, I guess, is the main word for it here, isn't it? I'd like a recycling centre, for example, because this part of the city definitely does need some more garbage collection. And we can get away with integrating this, I think, can't we? So let's then draw this around the back here. Don't really want road guideline on either. I'm happy to have side of building, I think. And then I'm also thinking I'd probably like this flipped around. So let's just grab him and reposition him to fit in the other side of the box. Now, of course, with the new addition of actually separating the upgrades away from the building, we've got some opportunities to use these as part of our kind of port decoration today, rather than always having them tethered to the side of the buildings like they always had to be. You know, we can get them up here, maybe in a couple of different roads actually, can't we? So we'll explore that today as well. Wonderful. So now this is in, we'll have that come straight back down. And that, does that just so happen to go straight back into the roundabout there? What are the chances of that, I wonder? Pretty special. I think we'll have that there then. And I think I'm going to leave an inlet here in these tiles to form the pier. Means my next one will start from this point up this way. And then we'll take this roughly up to the edge. I really want to make sure we maintain solid squares here. I don't mind a little bit of breakage, but any severe breaks will really affect the kind of the shape of the marina. So with this one here, I'd like to also kind of work in this angle as well, but what I want to do beforehand is make sure we come off from a 90-degree angle from this point, just to make sure it's perfectly aligned with the rest of these keys here. So let's go straight up as best we can. We'll come out slightly further this time, so let's do B20. And then from this point here, we can then just find an angle that we're happy with. Let's try do 45 degrees would be nice, I suppose. Maybe let's try to do a different one. Let's go with like 63 instead. I think that should be a little bit better, shouldn't it? And then with these here, I'd like to do something a little bit different with this. So let's bring it across to the other side. And then here, I'm going to do increments of 72 and then bring them back down by 104. And then leave in pretty small gaps in between, maybe like 4 tiles. And then just repeat that process here, just to give us some more inlets and indentations on these little keys and piers we're going to have around this way. So we end up with something that's roughly going to look like that. I don't think we're going to have anything drive off this way. The terrain is pretty scary around here, so pretty unbuildable, so I don't think we'll have anything down this way. But if we do have the room to expand the port over that direction if we want to. And now just a case of linking everyone back into that initial road structure we had over here. So where it makes sense, straight down is fine. And then I also wouldn't mind doing the same from the middle with a main road. Let's bring this up to there. And I think we'll have another roundabout. Let's go for the concrete ones here. And then we can hook this in with alleyway roads to where we want it to sit. Awesome. So I think that's the rough structure I would like for my port. Definitely want to bring in these roads over here now as well. Let's turn on our topography and just make sure we are giving ourselves enough room to breathe around here. Roll that back up. It also look very natural for the time being, but we'll always blend it back in. And then let's just find a curve here and come straight up toward that corner on the road guideline. We can have that link in, and I'm happy for just another very small roundabout to sit in there too. Awesome. So that'll complete our port structure. Let's now go ahead, terraform the whole thing up, and then use our road upgrade tools to turn everything on the outside of the water into a straight key. And then we can terraform all that around it. Super. So we've also brought over power as well during our build here. And we've also got sewage and water hooked in as well. So let's start out with our recycling center. We can add some storage here, which I don't think in the minute is needed. We do, however, definitely want the garbage truck, so we'll add that depot onto there. And then with these, let's have a little look how we could possibly use them. So I think with the storage extensions, I'd love to have maybe 2 of these. So how do they look? Obviously quite associated with the recycling center. They definitely don't look like separate assets, but that's okay. And then if we were to sort of see how deep this one is, it's like a 7 tile deep asset, isn't it? So let's save 7 tiles again between there. Then see if we can really kind of chunk out the recycling center by having 2 of these buildings actually separate away from the recycling center, but backed onto each other. Although doing that does deny pedestrian access, which is a little odd. We might be able to fight that with Anarchy. What is it actually you want? A pedestrian path connection there? I mean, we should be able to give you that with Anarchy if that's all you want. Is that it? Yep, that seems to have fixed it. That's okay. So we'll keep that there then. Put that back into the roundabout. And that gives us a much different looking recycling centre, doesn't it? Big fan as well of seeing the garbage pile up here as well nearby the key. That's very kind of local port infrastructure looking, isn't it? Especially those big green warehouses too. So I like that. So that will certainly take care of the recycling centre for this part of the city, which we have had some wonderful name suggestions for the new town. We'll name it when we get building over here next episode. But yeah, this has been a very nice addition. However, a big reason for doing this build is actually to satisfy some of Egginburgh's pretty insane and relentless industrial demand. It will never go away. And that's probably because as the city is aged up and mods have been introduced, we've probably underzoned quite a bit of industry. So let's see if we can draw some in here today. So I wouldn't mind letting some grow in organically, so the game can decide what it needs. So let's do this with our larger spots up by the waterfront here. Happy for larger blocks to go in, smaller if it wants to pick them out. Do very different zoning. That should help, although do you guys want to go a little bit bigger than that? And there we go. Then over here, I would also like to use Find It occasionally just to pick out some more warehouse looking numbers. So let's come into here and then we'll go for 2 by something, I suppose. Yeah, so some of these oil storages would look really nice here, right? So why don't we go for a little repeated pattern of here where we can. That's going to look great. I don't just want oil storage though. We could easily quite make this a little oil container port, but kind of did that a few episodes ago, didn't we? So let's see if we can find, yes, this sort of stuff here is what I'm looking for. Just these small little warehouse numbers that'll fit perfectly in there as well. Very nice. Now we should get businesses in these pretty much immediately. Yeah, already these have filled out with businesses, which is nice. Now I am wary of having too many smokestacks as well, so we can use the better bulldozer to remove them if we want. I believe it's sub-elements, isn't it? Yeah, so by selecting the sub-elements via the better bulldozer tool, we can simply just remove a lot of these towers, which really helps with the aesthetic, because it's unlikely a tiny little warehouse like this would have a 40-foot chimney stack, but thankfully the better bulldozer is here to save us, so that doesn't really matter. I'm liking that there. Again, whilst we are here and building something industrial, it's always a good idea to analyze other processes. Sewage treatment is very nearly in the orange, so that's something we're going to need to address soon. So we could do that while we're here as well. Now, the only alternative to sewage treatment is the wastewater treatment plant, which I think we have over in Inverness, don't we? Now, this might be a little bit modern for my tastes here. Let's just place this down and see what we think. I'd like it to be quite a prominent waterfront building, I think. So can we go for... I think that I can get away with it. I don't particularly hate it there, I don't think. It's a little bit modern for me, but I don't mind it. We could murder a little bit of that modern aesthetic with some of these purifiers, I think they're called, are they? I did learn all this sewage terminology during a build in ILOS and have since forgotten it all. But again, because these can be placed away from their mothership, so to speak, I'd be quite happy to explore maybe having one here. And then one over this way. How does that affect our sewage capacity? Quite a lot. Now, of course, we can't import sewage, can we? No, it's only sewage export. It'd be good if we could actually import it, charge our neighbours to process their feces, so to speak. I wouldn't be against that. Cool. So as part of our general industrial port vibe, I think that's pretty nifty. I do like that. See what's going on here as well. Seems to be a lot of grain storage, doesn't it? Oh no, maybe not. There is planks growing up here, livestock as well. We are getting different things. A lot of grain storage though. Is it worth having a look possibly at our production chain here? I mean, grain doesn't have a huge surplus. There's only 34 tons of it. There's more surplus of animals and veg than there is grain. Now, I'm wondering if that's a material good, I wonder. Yeah, we have pretty massive deficits, don't we? Several thousand tons, actually. Of particularly convenience food, which is grain and livestock combined. I'm not entirely sure why that would be. But it is trying to store an awful lot of grain, isn't it, to its highest ability. Despite the fact it isn't the biggest surplus, which is confusing to say the least. Having said that and now noticed how it looks, I'm not a huge fan of so much grain storage there. So I reckon we'll trim a little bit of it back. So let's take out these corners here. These guys can go. And then also these ones on the end here too. We'll do some more finer plopping here. But as for those ones that are growing organically, we'll keep them there. Now we've got a ton of oil trucks here, I'm guessing they are. They are indeed, yeah. Looks like they're coming to address the new storage there, which is fine. So in terms of services, like we were talking about, I don't think we need anything else. Power's absolutely fine. We don't need another power plant just yet. And healthcare you wouldn't find down here, I guess. So I think that's going to be okay. Let's begin to form up some more frames where we can get in some significant industry. Let's have this one come down here. And I really just want to start filling out this space with alleyway roads so we can get lots of zoning in here. Don't want everything to connect back onto the arterial as well. I'm happy for a couple of just regular kind of cul-de-sac roads to develop here too. I think that should be quite nice. I do also have a bit of office demand too, which we shouldn't neglect. I think if we're going to have some office space, it makes sense to have kind of larger 6x6 administration buildings in here. And then we'll work with them. I also like lots of parking here too. Big aesthetic of an industrial port, isn't it? Wouldn't mind doing some cute little custom parking out here in this little corner actually. This might be quite cute here. Probably get some nice industrial props alongside it as well. Yeah, let's just go for that, I think. Yeah, and then let's pick a slightly more weathered texture here. Let's go for some of our concrete ones. And how about cracked asphalt? Let's whack this down, see what we think. Yeah, I think that's going to be quite cool there, isn't it? Get some trees across here too. Nothing massively overly landscaped here. Pretty sensible, just a little row of poplars I think would be quite nice. Maybe the occasional oak here too. But as mentioned, I do want to save a lot of this space for kind of like grotty industrial detailing. I think it might be quite nice. We'll see what happens there. Cool. So how's our waterfront developing? Definitely want more infrastructure over here. Let's go ahead and a little plopping spree here and just pick out some of the larger 6x something units we can place down. So happy with the collection there. We're definitely getting much more varied. Yeah, it's things like producing convenience food now, which is definitely what the city needs. And when we plop in, what else will be growing up here? Machinery, pharmaceuticals. Not that I pay vast amounts of attention to these production chains anyway. I find them to be not very impactful in the grand scheme of things, but I'd at least like try to respect them a little bit, I think. And then when we do have spaces like this where we don't want to have buildings just packed in everywhere, more excuses to use some of that texture work. So I think we'll play quite heavily with cracked asphalt around here. Get some of Sully's wonderful decals down too. Now we can also search find it just away from this area and just search for container. And we can actually get the shipping containers that make up part of the actual container ports themselves as props, which are very, very welcome. And these are superbly nice assets that look really quite nice. Now there's a number of different sizes of them, so you want to be careful which one it is you're using, but I reckon something like that for me. So big difference, isn't it? We can get some of those in too. I wouldn't mind using some of the larger ones actually. Let's head to some of this stuff. I'd like some of the larger ones if possible. Yeah, let's see. Have we got any spaces here that might lend themselves well? Maybe over here, actually. So let's do one here. And we'll switch up to medium. Have that there. And then we can do pile high and pile low. Give our own little custom container port here. Of course, textures always go a massively long way. So let's just do a nice big bulk texture all the way through here. Save a little bit of room for some tasteful fencing, maybe just as a bit of a boundary for the container port. And then bring that right the way back up to the top. Let's have a little poplar line in between. And of course, there's all the different props we can put in here as well in terms of vehicles. The industrial detailing options with Find It in CS2 are significantly better than at CS1 in terms of like the asset variation. Like you'd never be able to place this in the vanilla CS1 pool. That's why it's such a shame it's all locked off, isn't it? I'll never ever get over that. How they decided we didn't need access to these industrial props. Considering how much time they must have spent actually making them as well. And then let's just border that off with that industrial fence. Just so it makes sense from like an access point of view. Then before we know it, just with a bit of Find It and some net lanes, we've now got our own little custom cargo port on our sort of dockland here, without having to place the super ridiculous big chunguses over here. So obviously you're losing the functionality, but you could quite easily integrate one of those major ports over here if you wanted to. I just wanted something a bit more smaller and tasteful for this kind of natural covered cove out here. Would have looking quite nice, isn't it? So I'm happy with that, I reckon. And I think from there we'll move into a detailing time lapse. I want to get a bit more car parking around here, and the rest of it essentially is going to be quite a bit of prop work. We might also squeeze in the scrapyard here too, because I believe that there is, if we search Find It, it's still called, you'll search junk. Yeah, there's a lot of junk cars and junk piles, so I reckon we can make quite a bit of fun with them. Maybe we'll isolate a little pocket somewhere for a little scrapyard to come in. And then generally fill out each block with factories, little bits of detail and texture work where necessary, and then generally help bring the whole port to life here. And probably, I don't think we'll have another bridge across from the town here. I think we'll just keep it on that one. But yeah, either way, make it look nice, bring in the natural forest that was once here. And then decorate our port. I hope it looks quite nice. And then we'll be right back. Okay team, let's have a little detailing review around the new port, shall we? So really nice sightline on the approach off of the National Road down into the area. A little security booth action as always at the start of the facility. And the Aurora power lines also flow in here as well, which is very tasteful, isn't it? Really like that. Car parking up at the front against with some industry. Some texture work around as always just to help vary up the green. And then our big recycling centre up here as well. This thing will handle a ton of garbage for all of the rural areas connected directly into the national highway network like this. There we go. Speak of the devil, there goes one of them now. Fantastic news, isn't it? Seeing that little green truck go down the road. And then over by the port, we have some very nice vibes developed actually. Let's have a little spin around here. So just all businesses filled in down by the quayside now, along with some more tasteful detailing in the open spaces with waiting containers, etc. Then over by the shore, we have just a little developed area by the front of the water treatment building here, which is just some cones, containers, some decals in here as well, where you would expect kind of pressure points, some storage before it spills into a little kind of cordoned off car park area, which is getting some nice use as well for people working here, which is quite cute, isn't it? Very nice indeed. And then more car parking through this way before it links back through to more businesses over there, where there is some kind of like just cute generic office park landscaping. Just on the fringes between the road that takes people up to the other side of the harbour. And then over here we have our scrapyard, which looks really great from kind of down on the street level here. Kind of looking on the corner, emerging into that big open kind of dirty space. It's very cute. The piles of rubble, garbage, containers, bins, overgrowth, barrels, silos, trucks, and general kind of shrubbery and overgrowth vibes. Sits in very nicely against the waterfront, doesn't it? Very happy with that. And then over this side, we have deleted the backs of the industry and just expanded them out from whatever was in their prop selection when we dropped them in. Just expanded it out so it just fills that space nicely. And I just continued this all the way down the road here too. It's very nice, very tasteful, really loving the prop work on CS2. So all this is just custom stuff around the back, you know. Really helps make a difference. Then more containers before we do arrive back at the other side of the marina, which leads to a very nice, cozy little local industrial port at the foot of some very impressive mountains. Otherwise, that will do it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Massive shout out to all the patrons that do help support the videos, with a special roll call to Louis Edlin. If you guys would like to get involved in that, there is Patreon and Instant Gaming down below. Best way to support these videos. We're extremely close, like 70, I think, at the time of the recording, away from 100,000. Maybe when you see this, we might be at 100k. If we are, just crazy. Yeah, I'll say a proper thank you when we obviously hit it, but yeah, crazy to support. Otherwise, really looking forward to developing this more rural, toned down bit of the map. It'll allow us to get to grips with a lot more of the detail in Egginburgh, as we're kind of essentially starting a new city over this side in this little pocket of land, aren't we? Otherwise, I'll shut up and leave it there. Please do enjoy some cute cinematics, but thank you so much for watching once again. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.